See the cattle at the end of the runway? They're going to be a problem for us.
No.
On our crowded planet, there are still beautiful and little-known wildernesses. But for the determined adventurer, there is a way to reach them.
Oh my God, I've just seen the airstrip.
I'm Arthur Williams. I used to be a Royal Marine, but 7 years ago I was paralysed in an accident. Then I learnt to fly and regained my spirit of adventure. Now, I want to see how far the plane can take me.
Not enough oxygen for me.
Store warner.
Tackling some of the globe's tiniest and most dangerous airstrips.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Meeting the people who've made their home at the ends of the earth.
Good job.
And exploring the world that only flying can reach.
I've walked on ground that nobody has ever walked before.
This time, I'm in Australia and the Indonesian island of Papua. This is a land of mind-boggling distances, epic landscapes, and intense isolation that has shaped the people who live here. I'll be journeying deeper and deeper into the wild, meeting farmers slogging it out in the merciless desert, a real-life Swiss family Robinson on their own desert island, and Christian missionaries risking life and limb to bring the word of God to the untouched villages of Papua. The vast majority of Australians live on the fertile east coast. Here in the desert bush of northern Australia, you can fly for hours without seeing evidence of humanity. Lake Nash is one of the largest cattle stations in the country. It's 30,000 times the size of an average British farm. Fred Hughes is the boss and only 27 years old.
Up here, you really get a sense of the scale of the place. It just seems to go on and on for miles.
Yeah, it certainly does.
And if you wanted to nip down to the nearest pub, how far would you have to go?
It's about 120 k's.
And the nearest restaurant?
About 220.
Do you mind if I take control?
Absolutely.
Brilliant, thank you. This thing flies beautifully, Fred.
Yeah.
It's not just distance that makes the plane so important here. For 3 months of the year, this desert landscape floods, and the only way in and out is by plane. In this hostile landscape, Fred keeps 42,000 beef cattle. His house sits alone, surrounded by a sea of desert and cows.
There's a strip sort of heading down that way.
Rightio.
Yep, speed's good.
Yeah. Rudder all right? Yep. Okay, full power?
Yep, full power.
Go.
Fred runs the station with his wife, Sarah. They've only been in charge here for the last 2 years.
Welcome to Lake Nash, Arthur.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you. I'm going to tell you how much I am looking forward to a nice cold one.
Just a nice English stout.
Yeah. Have you got some?
No.
No. Don't build me up just to break me down like that, Fred.
English beer or not, I want to find out more about the life they've chosen in the Outback.
Did you two grow up on farms?
Yeah, we're both 5th generation.
And how did you meet?
We met at a beef cattle expo, actually, in 2009. So, yeah, I think it was love at first sight.
Yeah. The first time I met Sarah, I said, oh, I think I'm going to marry this girl. So.
Really? You said that on the first date? I'm going to marry you.
No, I didn't tell Sarah. I said it to myself.
And what's day-to-day life like, being so remote?
We don't really feel that remote, to be honest.
Sarah's mum and dad are nice and handy, which is great. They're only about 5 or 6 hours drive away, but it's good we can pop over there.
I love it. 5 hours drive away, but we should pop over.
Just an afternoon drive.
Tomorrow will be my first chance to see how farming works on a grand scale.
Everyone, this is Arthur. Arthur's in the heli with me today.
Today, Fred's team are mustering 1,000 head of cattle, bringing them in for vaccinations and branding. But with a station this size, they don't just do it on horseback or motorbikes, it's farming for the Mad Max generation. Because the land is so arid, the cattle roam far and wide looking for vegetation.
We'll see all that dust kicking up there.
Yeah?
That's all cattle going into water.
Wow. Oh, Fred, this is awesome.
Good fun, eh?
Wow.
With another helicopter already working the cattle, we land to help out on the ground.
So we're just going to go down and see. We've got cattle coming from 2 directions meeting up, and then it's just a short walk from there into the yards.
The station's other helicopter is in the thick of it, chasing a bull that has broken away from the pack. He gets as close to the bull as possible, trying to persuade him back to the herd.
Wow, bloody hell. He's really got to know the dimensions of his
Oh,
aircraft,
yeah.
doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
There's a lot of dangers involved. Like, he's only got to clip a tree with that tail rotor, and that machine's going to get out of control.
Jeez, yeah, wow.
Heli mustering was started by Vietnam War vets. 10 people die doing it every year. It takes incredible skill. And with the nearest hospital over 100 miles away, the pilot needs to get it right. With the straggler returned, we find ourselves in the midst of a bovine lake.
I've never seen so many cows in one place in my life. It's just like you're in the Wild West.
I want to know what it takes to keep the farm working in such an unforgiving environment.
Resilience and resourcefulness, they're probably the 2 things. We had a terrible drought last year, and things get tough, there's no question about that. So you need to find that inner strength to get through those times.
How hard is it mentally to cope with the effects of drought?
Look, it's very, very tough. There's been plenty of, plenty of depression and suicides throughout the bush. But you've got to get through it, and it will rain eventually, and you pull together. And Sarah and I leaned on each other and got through it.
All of the guys that are working out here are really remote. Does morale get an issue with them?
Morale is obviously the most important thing in any operation. And that's why it's important to foster the right attitude, that you'll always put up with someone who's a little less experienced, a little not quite as handy if they're good for morale. If you've got someone in there white-anting or backstabbing or things like that, you need to sort that out.
Does it ever get to boiling point?
Yeah, absolutely. It's when people are living and working together all the time, it's not like you clock off after work, you go out and you see your mates and have a beer. You're here having a beer with the same people you're working with, so that's why it's so important to stamp out any brush fires when they start.
Tea break over, and another cow makes a run for it. With the heli otherwise engaged, we join the pursuit.
Whoa. Whoa. Wow. That is amazing. And he's just wrestled it, and he's just tied it up with his belt. See you, mate. Should learn your lesson for next time.
The team will be along shortly to pick up the rebellious cow. But now, with almost all the other cattle rounded up, the muster is in the air and the crew on the ground work together to bring the cows into the yard. Before helicopters, this 12-hour job would have taken at least a week. This elaborate ground-to-air ballet has transformed the life of cattle farmers like Fred. Despite all the challenges and hard graft, his love for his land and his life is clear.
Do you ever take it for granted?
Yeah, it's a great life, and that's why people love being out here, because it's exciting, and it's rewarding. So.
Do you think there's anything else there that would give you the same sort of job satisfaction?
No, I don't think so. No, it's a great team and a great life out here.
Next, I'll be meeting some of Fred's neighbours who have been living off the land for thousands of years. I'm in Lake Nash, one of Australia's largest cattle stations.
Morning, everybody.
Breakfast is an essential part of station life, and it's Luca's job to make sure the crew go to work on a full stomach.
Where are you from, Luca?
I'm Italian.
Oh, yeah?
I come from Italy. In Italy, it's very different. In Italy, in the morning, just coffee, espresso, or maybe some biscuit. And here, they would like just steak.
Look, how well do you think it'd go down if you gave the guys here on the station a typical Italian breakfast?
I think they kill me.
With the inevitable indigestion looming, I head out to the pens with Sarah.
And like life out here on the station for yourself, everybody works so hard. Do you get in amongst it as much as the guys do?
I do. I seem to get stuck in the office a bit more than I'd like these days, but I love nothing more than to get out on my horse and get amongst it all with everyone.
One vital job is checking whether any of the cows are pregnant, and the only way to do this is by internal examination. Happily, I can't reach, so I'll just be watching as Sarah gets stuck in.
Make your way through down to the fallopian tubes and to the ovaries, and I find out whether they're in calf or not.
Is this one pregnant?
This one's calfy.
Oh, good. That's good news.
Yeah. Calfy.
And you enjoy this kind of work?
Love it.
Yeah?
Love it, yeah.
When I came out here, I was expecting to find a totally macho environment, but Sarah is one of 15 women working on the station.
Has it always been like that?
No, there's been a huge change, you know, probably over the last 10 or 20 years, that there's a lot of Jillaroos in camps now. I know back in my dad's sort of day, his sisters were, you know, more in the house and that was their place, but I think women are a huge part of any beef operation nowadays in Australia. Arthur, I was just going to get in the car and I just want to show you something. Picked up a little friend.
Oh, no. You're a sod. Right, so obviously...
Not a fan of spiders?
No, I'm not a fan of spiders at all. Jesus, that's the biggest flipping spider I've ever seen out. It's not going to jump, is it? So I would see a snake, scorpion, velociraptor than a spider. Especially one that big. All right, it's just an Achilles heel of mine.
Even in a land this big, there are neighbours. Just a few miles from the station is the Aboriginal community of Alpurrurulam. Relationships between the indigenous population and cattle stations have often been conflicted, but Fred and the people of Alpurrurulam coexist happily, and he's agreed to introduce me to some of their elders.
Maxie. So Max, this is Arthur.
Hey, I met him.
Hi there, Max.
Hey, Arthur, how you going?
Yeah, good.
We've also got Reggie.
Good to meet you, Max.
How you going, brother?
As a neighbourly gesture, Fred slaughters a cow every few weeks to give to the community.
How are we going to cook this beast?
Maxie and the guys are going to show me how to cook beef the traditional bush way. I grabbed the chance to get my hands dirty.
You let me know if I'm going too deep or anything.
No, you can go down right then if you want.
Growing up, my father really impressed upon me the importance of if you kill an animal, you eat it, and you've got to cook it and you've got to prepare it, and you shouldn't be squeamish about it. If you're prepared to go and have a burger, you've got to be prepared to put in the dirty work, as it were, hands-on. I don't know whether you've ever seen a steak that big before. I'm starving. Well over lunchtime.
The steak goes straight into the fire. Not what I was expecting, the least it saves on washing up.
How do you like your steak, Maxie?
I would like it rather a bit rare.
A bit rare. Well, I think we should get this off then. And Maxie, this just cleans the meat, does it?
Yeah, you clean, you take the ashes off.
Yeah.
And put a bit of salt on, brother. I'm gonna have a crack at it. I'm gonna taste it now.
Yeah? Oh yeah, it was really good. That was really good, actually. Hey Maxie, do you ever, you know, like the generations that follow you, like your kids, do you ever worry that they'll leave this bush life behind?
We will never move to the city. The reason why we don't move into the cities is because of our young people will get involved in drugs.
Right.
And more drugs. You can have your fancy menus in the cafes and the pub. The best feed I have eaten is been out in the bush. That's what we're doing now.
If you could live anywhere in the world, Maxie, where would you live?
Even if you would offer me $1 million to move out of here, I would say no. This is my home here. The land they call down under.
Despite the discomforts, Fred and Sarah chose to move out here, whilst Maxie and the people of Alpurrurulam have decided not to leave. For both of them, the scale of the land and the independence it brings vastly outweighs the harshness of their surroundings. But for some, the bush is not remote enough. 700 miles northeast of Lake Nash lies Hagston Island, where one family live alone. Here, it's not the barren desert, but the shark-infested waters that make it so inaccessible. To get there, I fly to Horn Island. From here, it's another flight along the coast. Seasoned pilot Andre Van Ginkel was born on an airfield. Hopefully his experience will help.
Bloody Nora.
Because landing this 70-year-old de Havilland beaver on a tiny island strip will not be easy.
What a beautiful old girl, Andre. She just seems to elegantly climb up. The weather is really coming in. I can't actually see anything out front now. Have you ever had any panics out here?
You always worry.
Never complacent, are you?
No. Okay, that's Hagston in the background there.
Wow. Looks like paradise.
If I'm going to get a chance to explore this desert island, we're going to have to negotiate a difficult landing.
Yeah, with this wind it's going to be pretty tricky.
There's no room for error. Overshoot or undershoot, and we'll all end up in the Pacific Ocean.
Andre's really working the controls.
Beautiful. Good job, Andre.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky.
The final leg is a short boat ride from the airstrip to Hagston itself. Roy Turner moved here with his wife Anna in 1985. Back then, it was uninhabited jungle. They lived in tents with no running water or electricity. They built everything by hand and raised their family here. Anna and their children spend a lot of time on the mainland, Roy lives here all year round, and today the kids are home as well.
Roy. Hey. Hello. Where have you been? We've been waiting for you for weeks.
I know, it's a long old journey.
Here we are.
So this is something else.
Roy's house is far more luxurious than the island shack I expected, but he still has to contend with some serious wildlife.
What's the story behind this?
Well, the crocodile actually grabbed someone and we rescued the someone, then we went hunting the crocodile. The head's just over on the bar here.
So that crocodile head's had somebody's arm in its jaw?
Yeah.
How did it not take their arm off?
I jumped on it and put a finger in its eye and it let go. And that was that. So it all ended up being a happy ending. It could have gone the other way.
Was there at any point in the building of this and getting to the point that you're at now where your sort of determination flagged for it and you thought, oh, this is just too hard?
I remember getting pretty lonely at some time, thinking, having a good cry up the end of the beach, thinking what I'd done. So it was a sacrifice.
So what did you do before the island then?
I was a sheep shearer, hard worker, played a bit of guitar. Took off with the guitar to the South Pacific, somehow or other landed in New Guinea because of the hunting. I loved hunting, loved wild adventure, eating wild duck 2 or 3 nights a week and deer and chasing unattached girls everywhere, you know. No television, no rules. It was just the greatest place in the world.
How did you end up coming out here?
Everybody thinks, well, I'd like to have something on an island. Swiss Family, Robinson Crusoe. I got this as a getaway, but it became way bigger than I thought it would.
And it has become a lot bigger. A few years ago, Roy took a gamble and started selling his dream of the simple life to paying guests. Now, the Murdoch family and the super rich pay £400 a night to get a taste of perfect isolation.
We have so many rules. You can't go here, you can't go there, you can go there, you've got to do this. There's just so many restrictions and rules. When you come to Hagston, that all falls away. It's just a feeling of freedom and space. No people.
Yeah.
The space with no people. That's hard to find.
Life in Hagston is as much about what goes on underwater as above ground. Roy's son, 19-year-old Sam, is taking me spearfishing.
Give you a go at one of these. Happy days. Well, hopefully it depends on your aim, but hopefully we'll get something.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with my aim. Are there any particular nasties around here or anything that's going to want to try and eat me?
Yeah, there is sharks. When you're spearfishing, there's always times when you shoot something, say on the edge of a reef somewhere, and you'll have shark come up and take the fish off you, like trying.
Really?
Yeah, it happens a lot, especially as you go further and further out.
The family try to be as self-sufficient as possible, and catching dinner is part of that. Theoretically, it should be easy. The sea is teeming with fish, but they all seem to see me coming. Until finally...
What a little ripper. Oh, that's not bad going here. I can now say I've done harpoon fishing in the Australian islands.
Despite my glee, one little fish won't feed us all, so we head out with Roy and his daughter Tash to go hunting for something a little more substantial.
Part of the fun is to go out and get what you're going to eat. And when it's that fresh, you've got to be a real bad cook to ruin it.
Yeah. 16-year-old Tash grew up on the island. She's been catching fish since she could hold a line. Today, we're looking for red emperors.
When you find you get a bite, you snap it to try and...
No, you have to wait. You
Right.
have to wait just a little bit longer, and then they start pulling,
Yeah.
and that's when you start to pull. Yeah.
Tash, when you go back to boarding school, what do your friends make of what the stories you tell them of what you did with your holidays?
And on the occasional chance, I actually get to bring someone back. I love it. I just love to kind of share.
And what do they make of it? I mean, they must...
The mouths are open quite a lot of the time. Yeah.
Well, I'm waiting for beginner's luck to kick in. It hasn't worked yet.
Oh,
I I've never seen a fish like that big in my life.
Finally, I've got a bite too.
This is making him work for it.
Yeah, this is working for dinner like I've never done before. Gosh.
Oh, that's coming close now.
Yeah.
Good job.
Roy is a kind of high-end hunter-gatherer. He catches and grows much of his own food, but he can also fly in supplies when he wants to. Even if life here is not exactly slumming it, I do wonder how it is growing up somewhere as lonely as this.
Sometimes you feel like you're missing out on the sort of young life. Look, there's usually not an abundance of girls out here.
Yeah. No, I gathered that. Yeah. Well,
or anyone, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
If you're up here and you're on your own,
That's the only thing I thought about as a teenager.
Yeah.
So,
of course you did.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're sometimes missing out on something. But I suppose no matter, when I'm in the city, I feel like I'm missing out on here. So.
Do you honestly, in your heart of hearts, think you will come back and settle here?
Not, no, not the same way that Dad's done. Come 45, 50 years old, I think I could do this as a lifestyle. But while you're young, you have to do your own thing. Yeah. So.
Planes allow Roy to follow his fantasy of living in luxurious seclusion. Where I'm flying next, only 300 miles north of Hagston, planes are having quite a different effect, opening up remote tribes to the outside world.
Papua is renowned for its natural beauty, unique wildlife, isolated tribes, and vast, dense jungle.
Centuries of interclan conflict has led to thousands of tiny communities choosing to live as inaccessibly as possible. It's estimated that Papua is home to half of the world's uncontacted tribes. But some of these villages have embraced aviation, and now Papua boasts over 200 tiny dirt strips.
Strips that have been carved out of the jungle to serve remote villages, and with no other way in or out, it's their only link to the outside world. I'm flying with a group of very different aviators, pilot missionaries.
Papua, Indonesia, one of the most inaccessible places on Earth. For the next few days, I'm flying with David Hagston. Born in Colorado, he has been flying supplies and Bibles to villages in Papua for the last 3 years. He is one of 20 missionary pilots who fly every day, except Sundays, into the jungle. The Mission Aviation Fellowship was founded in the aftermath of World War II and has been operating in Papua since 1954. It was originally conceived as a way to transport zealous missionaries determined to convert the locals. Papuan tribes with their animist beliefs and reputation for cannibalism were a key target. Nowadays, MAF have diversified and provide a passenger, cargo and medical service, but the word of God still comes as part of the package. Today, we're flying supplies to Mamit and Outback, 2 tiny villages an hour's flight or a month's walk away. Pre-flight procedure with MAF does have an unusual element.
We look to you for our strength and for wisdom in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thanks, appreciate that.
I want to know what motivates David and the other missionaries. Are they actually doing good? And how do the people who live at the end of the runway feel about it? Our first destination is a small village called Mamit, home to 2 missionaries.
There's a couple here, Wes and Esther Dale, who have been serving in Papua for 20-something years. We fly in a couple times a week. They kind of live right in the middle of it, and they deal with kind of a never-ending flow of problems. There's health issues, domestic issues, husbands who leave their wives, or small children who are raising their siblings.
Flying over the heavy green canopy is mesmerising. Trees reach the horizon with no sign of a clearing. It's eye-poppingly beautiful, but for a pilot looking for a safe landing, a little on the scary side.
Yeah, you can start to see the bigger mountains poking out from above the haze out there in the distance.
David, is it safe to say Papua's got a bit of a reputation for being a hard place to fly?
Yeah, there is on average about 10 accidents every year in Papua, 2 or 3 fatal accidents too. This mountain was enclosed and, covered up with cloud, and an aircraft kind of flew right into the side of the mountain.
And it's an easy thing to do because it's the first large peak that we've encountered for quite a few miles.
Up here you can see like the white, the metal. Yeah, total loss of life. There are similar scenes like that
all over,
scattered.
Do you put a lot of your fate in the hands of God, as it were? Do you believe that, if my time flying in Papua is up, then it's up?
When something comes along that I have no control over, I believe that, that's from the hand of God, and I'm not going to fight that. So there's a level of peace that comes to that.
As long as we don't get to Mamit and you're like, right, if the aeroplane's meant to land, it's meant to land.
Hey, we're going to do the best we can to pull all this off as safely as we can.
Of course, of course.
This is Mamit.
There's the airfield. There's a little runway. It's tiny, just cut out of the side of this mountain. Committed now. Oh, that's amazing. Welcome to the jungle. I'd never get bored of doing this.
Wes and Esther meet us off the plane. We've brought in pipes for the village's new project, a hydroelectric generator.
Wes, if you didn't have aircraft, then it would be impossible to get all of these materials up.
No. We wouldn't even have kerosene lamps.
Yeah.
I like the extravagance of having electricity. I really do.
Wes and Esther have helped build much of the village's infrastructure. But they don't just do handiwork. They teach a Bible school and have spent years translating the gospel into the local language.
So then, Esther, where's this dodgy floorboard we need to fix, eh?
Well, this is the one the boy went through on Thursday.
Esther has asked me to help her fix the floor of the village school where she teaches.
Hit this one at the same time.
Yeah, sure. Alrighty.
That's it. Woohoo!
Okay.
Take that.
Skills.
This is how I take out my frustrations.
Yeah.
My plan for my life was to live in New Zealand and to become an artist. That was my plan. God's like, no, you're going here, of all places. So it's only His strength. He gives me that love. I just love those kids so much that I keep coming back, even though I think, it drove me nuts yesterday. Yeah. But no, I'll keep coming back because they're so precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you've bitten off more than you can chew?
Definitely, definitely, yeah. But I'm reminded in the Bible that boy gave 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed 5,000. I'm like, Lord, I've got my 5 loaves, my 2 fish, and there's 5,000 people here.
Esther, I know obviously you believe your faith is everything to you, but do you ever have any slight reservations about imposing that on other people?
Well, the thing is, to me, it's not my morality. And I don't feel like I'm imposing my morality. I get it all from the Bible. If it's not in the Bible, I say it's a matter of opinion.
Do you think that you would be out here in the village if you didn't have any faith, but you still wanted to do the same amount of good?
No, I don't think I would be.
It's God that brings you out
Yeah,
here.
definitely, yeah. I don't think... See, I mean, if I came out and managed to make them live for 70 years, what good would that if they die and then they go to hell? You know, to me, at least if they know God, they can go and spend eternity with Him. And that's a lot longer than 70 years or 50 years or 20 years or whatever they're going to live here.
Right, let's get some more nails in.
That's
right,
it.
Eric, centre one here, eh?
Oh, that's good.
The Bible school pupils have prepared a traditional feast of roasted pig in our honour. The local diet consists almost exclusively of sweet potatoes, so this is a huge privilege.
And this is something of a special occasion? Or
Oh, it's only a special occasion,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they will cook just vegetables in the ground, but it's not, there's no fanfare.
Yeah.
And nobody gets excited, but today they've got pork in there, and that is the ultimate.
Yeah.
They love their pork.
What is this?
This is a very long pandanus fruit, but you're not going to be able to eat it like this. You have to squeeze all the juice out, and then they'll scoop it up and eat it with great enthusiasm.
Any good?
I've never eaten it. I've always questioned how clean the hands were that scooped it, but Wesley says it tastes like nothing.
Oh, really?
Not as nice as tomato sauce.
It's interesting, it's like the men are just waiting to be fed.
That's it. That's it. That's what they do best. Wesley lectures them from the book of Genesis, where God says the curse for the women is the pain in the childbirth, and the men's is the sweat of their brow. And he's like, that you should be sweating. You should be working hard.
Yeah, Pakwomi?
Pakwomi is one of the village's most devout converts to Christianity.
Acara seperti ini adalah seperti kami menerima tamu-tamu kami yang luar biasa. Satu pertemuan yang indah sekali.
What do you do day to day?
Memberi makan keluarga, kami harus kerja keras untuk bikin kebun. Pasarnya di mana yang untuk dapat uang. Tidak ada orang yang pembeli lagi. Jadi masyarakat di sini kebanyakan yang miskin. Kalau saya sendiri senang sekali saya tinggal di pedalaman seperti ini. Karena di Jayapura itu kalau saya naik mau jalan harus bayar lagi, naik motor, mau makan bayar lagi, mau buang air semua itu bayar. Jadi saya lebih senang sekali di daerah saya di sini. Saya sebagai hamba Tuhan, saya selalu saya hidup tergantung kepada Tuhan saja. Saya tidak cukup untuk kelebihan uang seperti itu.
Crying because you're happy.
Ya, saya ingat kalau saya melayani Tuhan dengan di atas berkat saja. Banyak bapak-bapak saya yang melayani sini hidupnya seperti itu. Jadi saya lihat banyak orang yang punya uang yang cukup yang selalu mereka tinggal di kota. Tapi saya senang sekali kalau saya melayani di dalam Tuhan.
For all the epic scenery, it's difficult not to feel a sense of claustrophobia. And like the missionaries, Pakwomi and the villagers have no option to leave. However hard life may be, they cannot afford to live elsewhere. Next, I'm flying further into the highlands to Outback to find out what one village made of the missionaries when they first arrived from the skies. I'm in Papua in Indonesia, flying with David Hagston, a Christian missionary pilot.
Okay, Arthur, you want to have a go at it here flying? So after we get past this cloud, we're going to roll the airplane to about a 30-degree bank.
Okay.
And then in a couple minutes, I'll go ahead and take controls and get prepared for the landing. There's a pretty significant dichotomy that exists between kind of the haves and the have-nots. You know, those who have airstrips, schools are built, clinics are built, they get supplies like we fly in. Villages that don't have an airstrip, maybe because of their location, it's impossible to have one, they literally live generations in the past.
How do you feel about bringing your beliefs in and wiping out the sort of cultural signature of these places?
You know, kind of the white missionary coming in saying, you can't do any of these things, you need to do life the way I do it. That I don't think that's been around for a long time, honestly. Some of the, you know, missionaries who've come out here in the last 10 or 15 years, there may be elements of their culture that they even try to incorporate into their own lives. You know, I have friends who who said, oh, you know, you pierce your nose? Yeah, let me do that. And they'll do that, you know, walk around with a feather in their nose or something like that.
Would you walk around with a feather in your nose?
Me? No way.
Why
That
not?
hurts.
Yeah. Looks good though.
I mean, nothing against the look of it. I just can't imagine how much that has to hurt, so.
With Outback's tiny airstrip approaching, it's too late to pull out.
Committed to land?
Committed now. There's a big cliff rainforest in front.
We are going to land this airplane. And if a pig runs out on the middle of the runway, we're going to kill the pig. You know, so that's what we have to do.
Brake pretty quickly now because we don't want to go into the end. Amazing, amazing.
Flight follower Mike Echo Charlie on the ground, Outback.
It took the villagers years building this airstrip by hand. It's tough negotiating it in a plane, let alone a wheelchair.
I've never seen a slope on a runway like this ever before.
Yeah, this is the 22% portion up here.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring you down to meet a gentleman by the name of Puck Robert. He's lived here in Outback since the days before there were any missionaries who came into here.
When the missionaries arrived in 1973, the villagers had a strong belief in spirits, hunted with bows and arrows, and knew little of the outside world. I want to find out how they feel about the huge changes that have come with the arrival of Christianity.
So Robert, had the aircraft, helicopters, and missionaries not arrived, what would the village be like today?
Bikin kebun tapi dia harus pegang panah. Dari sana dia harus perhatikan asap. Tempat yang dia bikin kebun itu dia sudah tahu, jadi dari sana dia lihat asap saja. Saya juga memang sudah dikaderkan yang itu.
What did you make of it when you first saw the aircraft coming in?
Yang terakhir itu Eli ada putar-putar baru. Itu semua itu lari anjing, lari babi semua. Jadi bapak saya ini dia orang tidak pikir apa-apa lagi, tinggalkan anak-anak kecil itu mereka kasih lepas, baru ada bapak-bapak yang lari sendiri.
That's incredible. What did you make of the man that came out of the helicopter?
Dia jalan kaki sampai di tempat dan kami pegang Yesus saja. Tidak ada orang yang seperti Yesus.
Did people want to keep their traditional way of beliefs?
Tidak ada yang tolak karena pada waktu itu Bapak Gary Fowler dia bawa makanan ke apa itu barang-barang yang bisa tarik hati masyarakat untuk terima Yesus. Supaya mereka yang kasih pengaruh untuk bawa apa. Tidak boleh barang ini kami lepas dan kami sampai waktu itu sudah berhenti perang antara kali Outback sebelah dengan sini. Waktu itu sudah berhenti.
Robert wanted to introduce me to his older brother, Uriah.
Hello. You must be Uriah.
He has been paralysed below the waist since childhood.
How hard is that in the village? It's very hard for you to get around. It's not the easiest of place.
Lina la biyo kami manupna ya sekunna biyo sola nadik dua pudong na suri Ulisa akate orume.
Uriah, what have you seen a doctor? What's medically what's wrong with your leg?
Kana yakabasa ya dibete budi.
Yeah.
Uriah, have you tried a wheelchair before?
Gum.
Better with a crutch. A crutch is probably better than a wheelchair, right?
Bangedak kalian may magma. Alaim daging body daw like my batan la plan mo.
It's hard to comprehend the changes the village has undergone since missionaries first flew in, but Uriah's story is a powerful reminder of how stubbornly remote life here still is. For some, planes have made isolation a lifestyle, a choice, but for others, it remains an inescapable and sometimes harsh reality. Next time, I'm in the great northern wilderness of Canada.
And now we're a boat. We've gone from a plane to a boat.
Go on, let's have a whiff. Jesus Christ.
It smells great to bear, so that's what matters the most.